Honorable members, before we observe a moment of silent prayer, I just want to bring to the attention of the House that one of our members, the Honorable Adebe, House Chairperson, is unwell and he has been booked off sick until the 5th of August. So let us keep him in our prayer as we bow our heads for a moment of silence. Thank you, honorable members. You may take your seats. Honorable delegates, I would like to remind delegates of the rules relating to their virtual and hybrid meetings and sittings, in particular, sub-rules 21, 22, and 23 of Rule 103, which provides as follows. Hybrid sitting constitutes a sitting of the National Council of Provinces. Delegates in the hybrid sittings enjoy the same powers and privileges that applies in a sitting of the National Council of Provinces. For purposes of the quorum, all delegates who are logged onto the virtual platform shall be considered present. All delegates must switch on their videos if they want to speak. Delegates should ensure that the microphones on their electronic devices are muted and must always remain muted unless they are permitted to speak. All delegates in the chamber must use the floor microphones. All delegates may participate in the discussions through the chat functionality. Honorable delegates, I would like to request delegates who experience connectivity issues to use a still photograph for identification on the virtual platform. In addition, that delegates on the virtual platform log on with one device only, as logging on with 2 or more devices further lowers the bandwidth. Further, kindly note that the interpretation facility is active. Permanent delegates, special delegates, members of the executive, and SALGA representatives on the virtual platform are requested to ensure that the interpretation facilities on the electronic devices are properly activated to facilitate access to the interpretation services. Permanent delegates, special delegates, members of the executive, SALGA representatives in the chamber should use the interpretation instruments on their desks to access the interpretation facilities. Honorable delegates, before we proceed, I would like to welcome all permanent and special delegates to the sitting and acknowledge the attendance of the MEC for Provincial Treasury in Limpopo, the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, and Chief Whip of Limpopo Provincial Legislature on the virtual platform. Honorable delegates, I have been informed that there will be no notices or motions without notice. Honorable delegates, we will now proceed to the order of the day. Policy debate on Budget Vote 2, Parliament Appropriation Bill B5 2024, National Assembly Section 77. I now have the honor and privilege to call upon the Honorable NCPO, the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, to open the debate. This is my first time to call upon my chairperson to speak. Honorable Chairperson, you have 25 minutes. Yes.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. Greetings to your good self. Greetings to the Honorable House Chairperson, our Honorable Chief Whip, the Honorable Permanent and Special Delegates that have joined in on the virtual platform as well, the representative of the South African Local Government Association. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I wish to begin my address by asserting the importance of maintaining critical pathways of cohesion and consensus building amongst ourselves, not only for today's debate, but also for the countless robust deliberations that are to follow in this House. As we do so, may we be guided by the spirit of our icon Nelson Mandela, whose birthday month we are celebrating. It is my sincere wish that we will collectively advance the electoral mandate of this 7th administration with integrity, ethics, and respect of our oath of office. May these wise words give credence to what we have been called to accomplish. The things that will destroy us are politics without principle, pleasure without conscience, wealth without work, knowledge without character, business without morality, science without humanity, and worship without sacrifice. May these values and principles guide us as we move forward in unity to advance South Africa's national interest. May this remain as the defining precepts for the current conjuncture of our constitutional democracy. Honorable Deputy Chairperson, it is almost 2 months since South Africans participated in the 2024 provincial and national elections, ushering in the 7th administration as part of the democratic order established in 1994. As you are all aware, no single political party received majority support at national level, and as such, a government of national unity has been formed through a statement of intent that seeks to promote cooperation in both the executive and parliament under the stewardship of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. Many would agree that South Africa finds itself in an uncharted territory as we now familiarize ourselves with the spirit, purport, and alignment of the GNU. With each passing day, we find ourselves at the center of a steep learning curve about the impact and importance of the construct such as the GNU. Indeed, the advance to govern in the context of the GNU construct of governance is undoubtedly a complex process. However, we now have the opportunity to formulate the most appropriate regulatory frameworks and legislative instruments to advance our national and developmental interests. Honorable delegates, as we celebrate 30 years of our constitutional democracy, we recall today that our constitution has laid the foundation for a democratic and open society in which government is based on the will of people. As we advance in unity to achieve the ideals of our forebears, and as postulated by the electoral mandate of the 7th dispensation, this season requires visionary and pragmatic leadership. New and robust ways must be constructed to enhance public sector reforms, build state capacity to improve public-private partnerships, and build a corruption-free governance system. Honorable Deputy Chair, the work of Parliament is influenced by several developing trends within the global, continental, regional, and national context. This includes the effects of evolving democracies, the geopolitical tensions, and uneven global economic growth, increased expectation and demands, climate change, and societal risks such as pandemics. So far as the African economic context is concerned, according to the African Outlook 2024, despite strong economic performance and remarkable resilience, structural transformation in Africa has been slow and uneven. Addressing this will require the activation of bold reforms of the global financial architecture to meet Africa's development financing needs without the nefarious intentions of imposing debt at the expense of sustainable economic growth. The sluggish performance is set to reflect the ongoing slow economic growth in South Africa, which is the SADC region's largest economy. Growth in the SADC region is projected to increase marginally by 1.1% in 2024 and 1.6% in 2025. Whereas in South African economic context, it is clear that due to slow economic growth over an extended period of time in South Africa, which accounts for 60% of the SADC region's total output, is as a result of ailing physical and social infrastructure, as well as the impact of the past electricity crisis. These prevailing conditions are also said to have lowered the productive capacity of firms and constrained domestic demands. This economic situation has also aggravated South Africa's persistently high unemployment rate, high levels of poverty and inequality, and prevented us from reaping substantive democratic dividends in the last 30 years of freedom and democracy in South Africa. As we reflect on these stark realities, we must also acknowledge that South Africa does not function or exist in a vacuum. We must therefore acknowledge that our national development landscape is indeed impacted upon by external geopolitical tensions, exogenous economic shocks, which still profoundly continue to shape developmental conditions in South Africa. As we seek to the appropriate policy and legislative balances to address the challenges faced by our nation, we must refocus our attention on the imperative of the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan as a critical instrument to advance economic recovery and inclusive economic growth. Within this context, Parliament must play a critical role of overseeing a steady focus on the country's economy policy and implementation trajectory to enable a radical shift towards the achievement of our inclusive economic growth priorities. Honorable Deputy Chairperson, according to the World Bank report, which was co-authored with Stats SA, South Africa is said to be the most unequal society in the world, with race playing a key role in the society, where 10% of the population owns more than 80% of the wealth. South Africa also ranks first amongst 164 countries, which is a clear indication of the developmental pressures the broader state machinery must contend with. When we look at this overarching national context, the role of Parliament must be repositioned as critical during the current conjuncture of our developmental journey to effectively oversee the implementation of our national goals. It is therefore imperative that we strengthen Parliament's accountability mechanisms and systems so as to enable this arm of state to assert itself more appropriately within the confine of the constitutional mandate. Honorable Deputy Chair, despite the challenges of lack of adequate working space and the decreasing budget, the NCOP, through its plenaries and committees, continue to adapt business processes within physical and hybrid proceedings. Several key pieces of legislation were processed to address various aspects of national governance and public welfare, including the Division of Revenue, the Appropriation Bill, the Children's Amendment Bill, the Public Service Amendment Bill, the National State Enterprise Bill, the Marriage Bill, the Electoral Commission Amendment Bill, and the Constitution 19th Amendment Bill. With regards to oversight, Parliament continued to enhance measures for greater accountability and oversight over the executive. High rates of reply for both oral and written questions put to the executive in the two houses highlight the effectiveness of parliamentary oversight in ensuring government responsiveness. The NCOP directed a total of 970 written and oral questions to the executive. In keeping with the provision of the Constitution in relation to public involvement, about 255 public hearings were held, including collaborative efforts with parliamentary constituency offices and local entities. Several petitions were considered by Parliament. As delegates are aware, Cooperative government and intergovernmental relations are the twin sisters of our system of government. Therefore, collective planning on matters of common interest is crucial to avoid one sphere usurping the powers of another. It is therefore for this reason that the NCOP will continue to place greater emphasis on monitoring the effectiveness of interventions. Interventions should be the last resort after all other support measures shall have failed. Therefore, honorable delegates, in whatever we do, we must ensure that provincial interests are taken into consideration in the national sphere of government. As such, when designing our programs, we must take into consideration the programs of the provincial legislatures. We must also ensure that there is cooperation, consultation, and coordination between the two houses of parliament, our provincial legislatures, and as well as organized local government. With regards to international engagement, in the past financial year, Parliament considered 9 crucial international agreements in accordance with Section 231 of the Constitution. These agreements encompassed a wide array of topics, including gender equity. We will continue to strengthen parliamentary diplomacy in pursuit of the better Africa and a humane, just, equitable, democratic and free world. This includes through ensuring that the SADC Parliamentary Forum becomes a fully fledged parliament, stabilizing the Pan-African Parliament and taking our participation at the BRICS Parliamentary Forum to a new level. Honorable Deputy Chair, this year's budget is set against the backdrop of declining budgets in the state. In addition to the reduced budget, the composition of VOTU carries structural challenges, skewing the appearance of resource availability. Whereas the overall budget appears to be significant for 2024-25, the amount available for discretionary allocation is small. The accounting officer has limited control over the following allocations in the budget: the direct charge for members' remuneration, the transfers to political parties, permit payments, facilities for members, benefits for former members, salary adjustment decided by the sector bargaining processes, and contingent liabilities. Over time, honorable delegates, the composition of the budget should be reviewed to reflect the availability and the use of resources in a more accurate way. Also, a new approach to budgeting and appropriation will be needed to ensure that Parliament is sufficiently funded. Honorable members, the total budget for Parliament for the 2024-25 financial year is 4,436 million rand. The total allocation received from the National Treasury amounts to 3,263 million rand and includes 500 million rand for the restoration and refurbishment of parliamentary buildings because of the fire damage. The shortfall will be funded by institutional retained earnings of 101.8 million rand, retained earnings for rebuilding of Parliament of 998 million rand, the donor funding of 22.5 million rand, and own revenue of 50 million rand. The National Treasury allocation for compensation of employees amounts to 939 million rand, whilst the projected expenditure is 1,356 million rand. The allocation by National Treasury for the contribution to medical aid for former members of Parliament and provincial legislatures amounts to 68 million rand, whilst the projected expenditure is 80 million rand. Baseline budget reduction of the medium term are causing significant strain on the budget of Parliament. In addition, inflation is expected to remain higher, driving up the cost of Parliament's goods and services. Therefore, the budget of Parliament has been allocated as such. For Program 1, which is administration, an allocation of 2,284,000,000 has been made. For Program 2, there's an allocation of about 867 million rate that has been appropriated, and as well as Program 3, an allocation of 791 million rand has been allocated. The 2024-25 vote for Parliament was prepared during the term of the 6th Parliament. The Financial Management of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act requires that Parliament develops a new strategic plan within 6 months from the national elections. The strategic planning process, which will commence shortly, will result in us deciding on priorities and outcomes for the 7th Parliament and the realignment of resources. As we begin to crystallize our focus and approach as the NCOP, the following key priorities must inform our institutional agenda as we commence the 7th dispensation. We must, as a matter of urgency, prioritize the working of the intergovernmental and cooperative governance system to deliver services, with the intention of not only focusing on intervention after service delivery systems have completely collapsed at the provincial and local sphere of government. We will institutionalize 3-sphere planning processes in the NCOP and effectively utilize the 3-sphere developmental data provided to strategically shape the NCOP's oversight agenda. We'll also have to infuse together with the 3-sphere planning mechanism. We must deliberately accentuate the planning imperatives of the district development model as a springboard to advance the planning and implementation of key development priorities. We must ensure that sector parliament continues to play the dynamic and developmental role with better oversight, tracking, and impact assessment mechanism to advance South Africa's transformation agenda. We must institutionalize the policy and legislative review processes in order to consistently test the impact and efficacy of the policies and legislation passed by Parliament. We must also build dynamic public participation processes and systems to give better effect to the values and principles of public participation. We must further create the appropriate system to enable online petitions, and where online access is not possible in rural areas, we must create the appropriate system for rural communities to submit their petitions. The remuneration of the Chapter 9 institutions must be standard items for the executive to report on progress made on implementing this recommendation, and Parliament must meticulously track and oversee this process. In order to support the NCOP more effectively, parliamentary researchers must be involved in communities or find other sources of research data and rely less on reports from government. We must review the program structure of Parliament to allow for more time for plenaries, committees, and work performed in constituencies, whilst the restoration of parliamentary buildings remain one of the focus areas for the 7th Parliament. As I conclude, Honourable Deputy Chair, whilst being mindful of the strain on the budget of Parliament, which is a consequence of declining resources in the state, we need to set our priorities in a manner that will enhance Parliament's effectiveness and responsiveness. I therefore hereby table the budget for the 2024-25 financial year for approval by this August House. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP. I now have pleasure to call upon the Honorable Chief Whip of the NCOP, the Honorable Moimang, to address the House for 15 minutes. Honorable Chief Whip, you have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Greetings to yourself and my fellow members of this House and our special delegates that are on the virtual platform. Special greetings also to baagi ba naga rona ka kakaretso, ke re dumelang. Honorable Deputy Chair, House Chair, Honorable Ryder, the special delegates, Representative of Salga, baagi ba rona, honorable members, allow me to join the national chairperson in her presentation of the budget to this House, in rallying my support on behalf of the African National Congress to what the chair has tabled. Chair, this is quite critical given the fact that we are discussing this budget during the Mandela month, and it is only correct, Chair, that I also wish our former president happy birthday in heaven by quoting a very important message from a book in his that was published in his tribute, "Dare not linger." I quote, I have not faltered. I've made missteps along the way, but I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. I have taken a moment here to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds me, to look back on the distance I have come, but I can rest only for a moment, for with freedom come responsibilities, and I dare not linger, for my long work is not yet ended. This is quite critical, Chair, given the commitment that we have made to our people, and the debate of this budget illustrates that even critical institutions like Parliament is not immune from transparency, accountability, and public scrutiny. This is so because the chair in her address make commitment that Parliament has to have sound financial management and it has to account. As honorable members may be aware, it's important to note that this budget takes place after three interrelated milestones. One, the inauguration of the 7th Democratic Parliament, the election of our presiding officers, the debate on the president's opening address, and also the elections of our chairs of select committees and also the House chairs and the chair. So therefore, the message from Dare Not Linger also captures the fact that in our quest to celebrate the 30th anniversary of our constitutional democracy and its institution, it is important to remind ourselves that we occupy a particular space in the quest to promote our constitutional democracy. And this is important because as this House, we have to reflect on the work that we have done since 1997. Of course, it is important also to appreciate the fact that this debate takes place as we celebrate 70 years of the adoption of the Women's Charter in 1954. This placed the importance of the Charter at the center of our transformation agenda. And therefore, the expectation and the clarion call is that we need to ensure that the work that we do is infused with the gender mainstreaming as one of the key critical strategies that has to be pursued in our quest to promote gender equality. This is so because throughout our programs, such as tree planning mechanism, as an oversight agenda setting mechanism, the Provincial Women's Charter report back session created a quite an exciting platform to reflect on the progress that we have made. But more than that, it placed the Council at the center of a very strategic and fundamental role in the integration of gender perspective in the preparation, design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of the government policies, and that our government integrates regulatory measures and spending programs with a view to promoting equality between women and men and combating discrimination. This context is quite important also to reflect on the work that we have been doing across the globe as part and parcel of this key critical instrument that this House is also promoting. But what is critical, honorable members, is that while we concede that us is a democratic project that is unfolding within the evolving global context of neoliberal democracy, and also which in itself create a bit of unprecedented crisis, it is important that we affirm the centrality of Parliament as a key center of democracy. In order to illustrate that point, allow me to also quote the 2006 Guide to Good Practice from the Interparliamentary Union. I quote, "The paradox of our time is that we hail the victory of democracy whilst lamenting the fact that in many countries, Parliament is the central institution of democracy, is facing a legitimacy crisis. The executive branch dominates the agenda. International cooperation and globalization have led to decision-making that lacks democratic control. And the people questions whether the current political process are really able to produce parliament that represent their interests in all their diversity." So it's important that this context is fully understood. But what is also critical, Chair, is also the fact that within this context, President has articulated 3 strategic objectives which government will be focusing on. I don't have to remind honorable members, they were part and parcel, but key is to ensure that we have an inclusive growth and job creation, a reduction of poverty, and also building a capable and ethical state. So therefore, it is important that we reposition ourselves as Parliament and the NCOP in a particular way. We must be steadfast in playing a robust developmental oversight role by keeping these priorities at the center of our oversight work. Chair, in relation to the Government of National Unity, which correctly was to be characterized as a change in continuity, the National Chairperson has correctly articulated the context within which the GNU was arrived at, and therefore critical to us is how do we position the National Council of Province to ensure that in our parliamentary oversight, there is a consolidation of consensus seeking, and there's also a manufactured political management of cooperation and of conflict. The ultimate test of which should be the overriding interests of our people united in our diversity. Chair, it is also important that in appreciating the importance of GNU, key to it, the support, is the following, which is quite important because we capture GNU as a reflection to break ranks with the centuries of apartheid, colonial rule defined by race, class, and gender. But more so, we commit ourselves through elected representative, having adopted our constitution as the supreme law of the country. There is a sense that through the work that we do, we'll be able to bridge the sins of the past. But more than that, what is critical is also a rhetorical question. How do we reposition the NCOP as a critical vanguard of the interest of provinces and the will of the people in provinces? Honorable Deputy Chair, the political context that was outlined earlier on indicated that there is a need to appreciate that there is a declining capacity of a democratic state, especially the local government in South Africa, which make a compelling case for any democratic institution to pause and reflect on the work that we do. Honorable Deputy Chair, it is important also to affirm our belief that the response that we need to give to two questions, amongst them, how do we reposition the NCOP as a critical vanguard and also the will of the people in the provinces? It is important that we do that by ensuring that the relevance of the mission of the existence of this August House, as crafted by the architects of our Constitution, and the extent to which it has succeeded to fulfill this mission is put under scrutiny. We do so as by virtue of the fact that while the decision by the Constituent Assembly to disestablish the former Senate, which was established in the terms of interim constitution of 1993, and replace it with the National Council of Province, was reached by consensus, it was, however, not arrived at easily. This was especially so in relation to its specific mandate. And that is important, Chair, because if you look at the resolution of the ruling party of the 6th National General Council, I quote, it says, in celebrating its 20th anniversary, the NCOP must reposition its role to ensure that it is at the cutting edge of the integrated cooperative governance, unquote. This is important because as we reposition the work that we do, there has to be clarity as to whether are we committed to the 3 strategic flagship programs that we have put on the agenda to infuse and strengthen the work that we do as the local government, as the National Council of Province. But also it is important that we do not lose sight of the fact that the National Council of Province, as the champion of the integrated developmental cooperative governance and the custodian of intergovernmental relations in our constitutional democracy, cannot be underestimated. And we therefore have to do whatever we do to make sure that at the center of the work that it does, we are able to strengthen its institutional support and the capacity to fulfill its mandate. And it's important that as we review and reposition its flagship programs, we do so in pursuance of its strategic mandate of deepening the integrated cooperative governance. It is important, honorable members, that as we continue to appreciate the work that we do, at the center also is the need to ensure that member support cannot be left unarticulated. Among the key points that we need to do is to ensure that the support to the provincial whips is fast-tracked so that we are able to ensure that they are able to do their work with distinction, because the provincial whips and senior whips play a critical role in the political management of this House and its liaison with legislatures and other critical stakeholders in order to ensure that that integration that we talk about is not left to the sideline. The other point in terms of member support is the issue of the importance of permit, which is quite important because permit covers a wide range of medical expenses for every kind of medical need. This includes in-hospital coverage and prescribed minimum benefits, which allows its members access to the required health services. PAMED medical scheme was established in 1975 by the Parliament of South Africa to ensure that its members and its leaders, which include the presidency, ministries, legislatures, and members, are able to be taken good care of. There was a case to try in 2014 that took the PAMED to court. But because this law remains in place, that matter was withdrawn. So what is quite critical is how do we position PAMED within the context of the envisaged National Health Province? But what is more important in conclusion, Honorable Deputy Chair, is to ensure that our members are taken on board in terms of what
Honorable Chief
support
Whip,
are
your
there
time has expired.
And in addition, as the African National Congress, we reaffirm our support to budget vote 2. Thank you, Chair.
The next speaker is the Honorable Ryder. Honorable Ryder, you have 15 minutes.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. Madam Chair, colleagues, fellow South Africans, this is Parliament. Today we gather to discuss the budget that the Executive has given us to do our work. Now, it's with a profound sense of responsibility and determination that I take on the role of House Chairperson of Committees. In this critical role, I am committed to ensuring that the work of the NCOP is not only effective, but transformative, serving the true interests of the people of our great nation. Today, I want to address the pivotal importance of the NCOP within our parliamentary system, to delineate its specific differences from the National Assembly, and to emphasize the indispensable role of politicians, particularly office bearers, in steering the NCOP's direction and focus. The National Council of Provinces holds a unique and essential place in our parliamentary framework. Unlike the National Assembly, which represents the people directly, the NCOP is designed to represent the provinces, ensuring that regional interests and concerns are given a voice at the national level. This bicameral structure is not just a formality, it is a fundamental aspect of our democracy, ensuring that our governance is balanced, inclusive, and representative of our diverse nation. However, it is evident that the NCOP has not always lived up to its full potential. Too often, the administration has been left to dictate the pace and direction of our work. This is a grave misstep. It is not the bureaucracy, but the elected representatives who must lead. As politicians and office bearers, we have been entrusted with a mandate to guide, to decide, and to act in the best interests of the public. It is our duty to take the reins, to shape the agenda, and to drive the work of the NCOP with purpose and conviction. As we begin the oversight work of the committees, let us be the proverbial new broom, ready to sweep clean and invigorate our processes. Our committees are the lifeblood of the NCOP, where the real work happens, where legislation is scrutinized, where public input is integrated, and where accountability is enforced. It is within these committees that we must focus our efforts to bring about meaningful change. As we start the work of this House in its new composition, we are faced with a particular challenge, as the institutional memory amongst members has been substantially diluted, with only 4 among us returning to the NCOP after having gained experience in the 6th Parliament. I'm certainly not undermining the experience of those who served in the National Assembly, who served in the provincial legislatures, or the metropolitan and local councillors across the 3 spheres of government. Your history and experience will serve us well as you bring your understandings of the other parts of government together with your lived perspectives into our discourse and enrich the debates and conclusions with your wisdom. It is, however, extremely important to note the distinct role of the NCOP. We do not operate like the National Assembly. We cannot be a better NA than the NA. They have their role to play, and we should not deem ourselves to be a second check on their work. And we certainly should not be a mere rubber stamp, a formality to meet the requirements of the Constitution, merely as an act of compliance. The principles that underpin the writing of the Constitution sought to give us a dual mandate, that of representing the provinces, as detailed in Section 42 of the Constitution, as well as the senatorial role described in Section 44. This must be what informs the work of the committees. While the budget informs the work of government, and our committees should play a constructive role in processing the budget, it is the role of the National Assembly committees to monitor and have oversight over the implementation. While they do that, we should be engaging with our provinces to better understand the negative impacts, the unforeseen deficiencies of legislation that Parliament has passed. An example of this would be the PI Act, the act that was passed many years ago with noble intentions and designed to protect the dignity of South Africans. But sadly, in its execution, it has become a tool used by criminal syndicates to achieve the exact opposite of those high ambitions that it once had. And it has placed an unfunded mandate on provincial and local government. It emerged during the Provincial Week last year that some provinces found that the implementation of the Act had negatively impacted the balancing of people's rights, but had also introduced a massive financial burden on municipalities and provinces who have to find alternative housing solutions for evictees. Municipalities particularly are already struggling financially, and the introduction of this additional mandate has not come with any additional funding. The result is that municipalities are often not able to enforce legally obtained court orders, resulting in unplanned urban sprawl and unserviced human settlements. The situation needs sober minds and deep thought to bring about solutions that protect all South Africans. This is a matter that can be addressed in a committee of the NCOP with insights and inputs from the various role players, with the intention of making a better law. Now, I can already predict the howls from the land grabbers and the opportunities that sit among us. My response to them is to ask if they are happy to abandon the many South African landless people to live in unserviced places, in haphazardly developed neighborhoods. Surely we should be focusing our resources on well-planned living spaces rather than squalid shanty towns with sewage running in the streets. A committee bill would be the obvious outcome, or even better, a bill that's discussed and negotiated with the executive and ultimately driven using the relevant department with their support and a common goal in mind for the benefit of all South Africans. But in order to get to this point, honourable members, we must ensure that our committees are not just functional, but exemplary in their operations. This means rigorous oversight, thorough deliberation, and an unwavering commitment to transparency. Each committee must be proactive, not reactive, in addressing the issues that affect our various provinces. We must anticipate challenges, engage with stakeholders early, and ensure that our legislative work is both timely and relevant. Furthermore, we must prioritize the public interest above all else. The legislation that we pass and the decisions that we make must directly benefit the law-abiding citizens of South Africa. Our people are our ultimate stakeholders, and it is their welfare that should guide our every action. To achieve this, we need to enhance public participation in our processes. This can be done through more accessible public hearings, greater use of technology to gather input, and more frequent interactions with the communities that we serve. By doing this, we can ensure that our work reflects the real needs and aspirations of our people. Our work with the provinces is one of our key responsibilities. The provinces must see us as their champions in Parliament. The relationships with both the executives of provinces as well as the oversight structures in the 9 legislatures is a key driver of the success of any provincial delegation. If you do not make yourself relevant to them, you are robbing your province of important opportunities to realize their best potential through strong interaction with the national sphere of government. In addition, we must strengthen the relationship between the NCOP and the National Assembly. While our roles are distinct, our goals are aligned. Effective communication and collaboration between the two houses is essential for coherent and comprehensive policy making. By working together, we can ensure that provincial interests are integrated into national legislation and that the laws that we enact are both fair and effective. Now, let me introduce a crucial point: the responsibility of office bearers. As leaders, we cannot afford to delegate our responsibilities to the administration. We must lead from the front, setting the agenda, making the tough decisions, and ensuring that our committees and other structures are aligned with our strategic goals. This requires courage, vision, and an unwavering commitment to public service. It is our duty to provide direction, to inspire our colleagues, and to hold ourselves and each other accountable. To this end, I propose the following solutions to enhance the effectiveness of the NCOP and its committees. The first being enhanced training and development for members. We must invest in the continuous development of our members. This includes training on legislative processes, public engagement, and effective oversight. By equipping our members with the necessary skills and knowledge, we can enhance the quality of our work. The second intervention is improved coordination and communication. I've touched on this already, but we need to establish better channels of communication between the NCOP, the National Assembly, and provincial legislatures. This will ensure that our efforts are coordinated and that we are working towards the common goals I've mentioned. The third one is strengthened oversight mechanisms. Our committees must be empowered to conduct thorough and independent oversight of government activities. This includes the ability to summon officials, request documents, and conduct site visits where relevant. By enhancing our oversight capabilities, we can ensure that the government is held accountable and that public resources are used effectively and in the interests of our people. The days of virtual meetings must also end. The next item on the list is increased public engagement. We must continue to create opportunities for the public to participate in our processes. By involving the members of the public, we can ensure that our work is grounded in the realities of those that we serve and not the issues that we think exist. The next is a focus on implementation. It's not enough to just pass good laws. We must also ensure that those laws are effectively implemented. And this requires close collaboration with government departments, regular monitoring of progress, and prompt action to address any issues that arise. That's an important aspect of our local government week and the provincial week to review the impact of legislation on local government and provinces. The final area I wanted to focus on is the promotion of interprovincial collaboration. The NCOP must serve as a platform for fostering collaboration between the 9 provinces by sharing best practices, sharing resources where possible, and by sharing expertise. Through that, we can address common challenges more effectively and ensure more equitable development across the country. Colleagues, the time for complacency is over. We must embrace our roles with a renewed sense of purpose and commitment. The people of South Africa are looking to us to lead, to act, and to deliver. They are tired of empty promises and ineffective government. They want real, tangible results that will improve their lives and build a better future for all. As House Chairperson, I pledge to work tirelessly to ensure that the NCOP fulfills its mandate, and I'll hold myself and my colleagues to the highest standards of integrity, diligence, and accountability. Now, when looking at the actual budget that we're faced with today, we note that the budget of Parliament has, over the years, been systematically reduced because of the country's overall poor economic performance and the many pressing needs of government. In fact, this is a self-inflicted injury which requires local medicine to manage. The local medicine will come in the form of this Parliament, tightening the screws on all ministries and entities to ensure clean governance that will inspire investor confidence. In the past week, my office has also been inundated with calls from committees, from the chairpersons of committees, decrying the fact that the poor rollout of tools of trade militates against their ability to hit the ground running. It is a matter that I'm seized with and will be thoroughly ventilated in our maiden meeting of the Committee of Chairpersons, which sits tomorrow. In closing, Deputy Chair, Let us remember why we are here. We are here to serve. We are here to represent. We are here to make a difference. Election as a member of parliament is not an end goal. It's a platform from which to pursue your goals. Let us seize this opportunity to build a stronger, more inclusive, and more prosperous South Africa. The work ahead will not be easy, but with determination, with unity, and a steadfast focus on the public good, we can achieve great things. Ritsuelopele Kaufela. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ryder. The next speaker on the list is Honorable PJ Swart. Honorable Swart, you have 9 minutes.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Deputy Chair, Honorable Chair of the House, Honorable members and fellow South Africans, good afternoon. I stand before you today as a proud member of the NCOP, deeply honored to contribute to this critical debate on the Appropriations Bill 2024. Having attended the President's opening address, the debate, and the response today by the President, I am both inspired but also deeply concerned. Because after 30 years of democracy, it is troubling for me as a new member to see that we're still facing with significant challenges and obstacles on our path to true prosperity. This is the era of hope, as the President has said, era of renewed hope for our country. As a new member of the NCOP, I'd hope that a government of national unity would have been established a decade ago already. The voices of South Africans rang loud and clear on May the 29th, compelling us as leaders to unite in one bus towards the promised land, towards a better South Africa. We dare not, as leaders, deviate from this roadmap that will lead this beautiful nation to the next level. We must change the fuel of the bus by critically reviewing all failed policies. I mentioned all failed policies, all failed programs and projects that hinder our prosperity in South Africa. All departments must innovatively restore dignity and develop new plans for radical change. This includes the uplifting of our youth, restoring family values, adequately addressing gender-based violence, empowering upcoming farmers, and supporting local South African businesses. This budget prepared by the previous administration tabled today highlights that we must do more with less. Innovation should be our watchword moving forward. And on the proposed budget figures, I wish to address the following points. Firstly, the increased budget deficit. The growing deficit negatively impacts resources, affecting real service delivery for the people of this beautiful country. We need a sustainable approach to manage our finances effectively. This deficit, if not managed properly, will lead to a higher borrowing cost and reduce our capacity to invest in essential services and infrastructure, which is our current trajectory if we do not implement drastic change to our fiscal policies. Secondly, the economic recovery plan. We need to review this plan. We need to review our economic recovery plan, considering the shortfall in expected revenues due to the weak economic environment. Our recovery strategy needs to be dynamic, needs to be responsive to our current challenges facing our country facing our people that we serve. We need to create a conducive environment for businesses in all 9 provinces to thrive, fostering entrepreneurship and innovation to drive economic growth. Thirdly, with the GNU installed, new departments, new ministers, new plans, new fresh passion, new commitment, it is time to implement a zero-based budgeting process. We cannot continue with the same ineffective practices of the past years. The bad must fall, the good intention must rise and must be embraced, and we must start afresh with a clean slate. This approach will force each and every department to justify their expenditures from scratch, ensuring that funds are allocated based on need and efficiency, not historical spending. Number 4, sustainable job creation. We need to investigate and develop radical plans to reduce unsustainable grant funding and replace it with sustainable permanent jobs in each and every home. Our people deserves the dignity of work and the stability it provides. This involves not just job creation, but also skills development and education to prepare our workforce for the demands of a modern South African economy that can compare with the rest of the world. Number 5, aging infrastructure is a growing nightmare and is a crisis mode at the moment. South Africa must undergo a comprehensive construction era, particularly in the upgrading of roads and water lines. Investing in infrastructure will not only improve service delivery, but also create jobs and stimulate the much-needed economic growth. We must ensure that infrastructure projects are completed on time and within budget, with no room for corruption or mismanagement. None so more painful than our once beautiful National Assembly building that has been standing as a construction site since January 22, almost 3 years, and that is unacceptable, which work only started in the beginning of this year. Under the DA leadership, the Western Cape has seen remarkable successes. Our province leads in job creation, leads in healthcare. We have shown that good governance, accountability, and innovative policies can drive real progress. The Western Cape's approach to fiscal discipline and prudent investment serves as a model for the rest of our beautiful country. Our economic policies, focusing on creating an enabling environment for businesses and ensuring efficient public service delivery, have borne fruit and must be scaled nationally. The DA's economic policies emphasize reducing the regulatory burden on businesses, particularly red tape, fighting corruption, and ensuring efficient public service delivery. We believe in a market-driven economy where the government creates an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. Our policies focus on education. Our policies focus on innovation, on infrastructure development as key drivers of economic growth. We also advocate for a fair, transparent tax system that encourages investment and economic activities. As the late leader Nelson Mandela wisely said, it always seems impossible until it's done. Let us, leaders, take this to heart as we, as the government of national unity, embark on the necessary and challenging task of of transforming our nation's finances and policies.
Honorable
We
Swart,
must-
your time has expired.
In conclusion, fellow South Africans, we as members and Government of National Unity, we need fiscal
Honourable member,
discipline,
your time
prudent
has expired.
investment. Thank you, Honourable. I thank you all.
Next speaker on the list is the Honourable Makasini. You have 15 minutes.
Ere ke dumedise Deputy Chairperson, ke dumedise Chairperson of the House. Greeting to the leadership of the economic freedom fighters led by capable Sello Julius Malema. Greeting to the grand forces of the mighty economic freedom fighters. Ke dumedise baruti ba rona ba re beya dithapelong ha re le mona, because without their prayers ngabe re se mona. Ke dumedise the traditional leaders tsa rona mo re tswang teng. Ho baahi ba Freestata re re mandate wa rona re le NCOP is to ensure the interest tsa di province tsa rona are taken care of on the national space of government. That is our mandate ha re le mona re representa di province tsa rona. Mare mo re tswang provinceng tsa rona re a tseba batho ba bo rona ba dula in a squalor, ha bana metsi, dipetlele tsa rona batho ba robala fatshe, bomme ba pepela ditleliniki dikoloing kantle, ditleliniki tsa rona di a kwalwa ka fire, batho ditleliniki tsa rona di sebetsa 7 days of the week. Re ipotsa fela hore re kula na only Monday to Friday from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Ke question e re le NCOP e tlameha re ipotse yona. We therefore reject this budget because this budget ha e bue le di-interest tsa rona mo re tswang. The role of Parliament is oversee activities of government and the organ of state so that we realize a better life for all. The better life for all ene lwanela ke batswadi ba rona ka 1994. Ha ba le batswa ba lo ema di-lining, freedom is coming. Little did they know there is only the freedom ya hore ba vote. There is no economic freedom in their lifetime. The backlogs in our provinces of the housing project of ditsela tsa rona, the corruption e teng dimasepaleng tsa rona, provinceng tsa rona, ha se ntho e etsang hore re le di-member tsa this house re ka kgona ho robala ha monate, because our people in Qwaqwa specifically, where I come from in Free State, in Maluti a Phofung, batho ba Qwaqwa ha bana metsi, batho ba Qwaqwa ha bana electricity, ha o tseba Qwaqwa e na le matamo a mararo, mara today there is no water in Maluti a Phofung, specifically in Qwaqwa. However, this parliament has been unable to fulfill its primary responsibility of holding executive account for many challenges that are faced by our people. This parliament also failed to present a credible and dependable solution of many crises that are faced by our people. It has been unable to lead the program to develop, implement believable solution to any of the crises which they face about our people on a daily basis. We therefore reject this budget, Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP. We therefore reject this budget of the Parliament, which through the Speaker's shield is present of being an answerable Parliament, as in the case of Palapala. Our role is to make sure everyone is accountable to this parliament. Corruption must not have a face. As the Honorable VPS, corruption must not have a face. So we also reject the budget of parliament, which is responsible for billions of rand. Since January 2021, Parliamente ya rona e larger. To date, we don't have a parliament. EFF in our founding manifesto, we once said, let's relocate the parliament to the administration building so that we save cost. Rebelli to administration side, legislation in Cape Town, administration in Tshwane. Rekabe re le Tshwane, re tseba hore re plekeng A1, re save the cost and give the money to the people that they deserve. Now we can't because you rejected it. Whether it's separation of powers or not, you rejected it. We also reject this budget, Honorable Deputy Chair, which is also responsible to collapse our language services. In South Africa, we have 11 languages. All of us, ha re bua le batho ba bo rona, re tlameha batho ba Free State ba re utlwe Badino, Honorable Badinos. And when you are sitting there, you are not a chairperson. Can you please call Mr. Badinos into order?
You are protected, Honorable Member.
Thank you.
Please continue.
So we can't support this budget because high representing batho ba rona kaofela, because re tlile mo re kgethuwe ke batho ba di different constituency, ha re bua re tlameha ba utlwe hore re reng. So therefore the interpreters chair, they must be appointed so that batho ba rona ba utlwe motho a malamolela a utlwe batho ba hae ba mo representa in this podium. So the issue of the Secretary of Parliament or the entourage, the international trip, you cannot limit to about 20 to international trip while we are paying their accommodation, their transport, their allowance. Unless you are going to a shopping spree, you need to scream up the travel international in entourage. If speaker why 10 or 20, what are they doing at that team? Because the speaker is the one who's going to represent us in those countries. Chairperson, the EFF also concerned about the House still insists of having a visual sitting. I agree with you, Chair of Chairs. We need to minimize the issue of visual sitting. All of us, we must be here because we are elected, you are permanent delegate, you are representing our people. Monday to Friday, you must be here. Even if we have to work on Sunday, you must be here because a virtual platform is not effective, is not assisting our people. The system also lacked transparency, raising concern about the integrity and accuracy of voting outcomes. As the economic freedom fighters, we demand an end of virtual platform. All the committees must be physical. Chairperson, outside the walls of this parliament, ke batho ba emeng ba le bangata, ba batla mosebetsi, ba losetse hope. The issue of unemployment in this country is something the members of parliament our children, our brothers, while they have qualifications. Crime in this country is very high. All of us, you need to make sure there is a mechanism that we fight crime. The gender-based violence is the issue that SR Robert saying. Money in Velcom in Machabe. Last week, you lost a young lady. Abula wenke mona a selfish. Amukela amobolaya. Aba fila oronale right. Yaur agabo bad. Because banna, they don't value us as women. So all of us combined in this house, we need to speak very harsh ka issue of gender-based violence because auna motho anale right ya o re bolaya re le batho ba bomme. They also kills our boys. Le bontate ba victimized. All of us are re bue ka system ya gender-based violence because it's a problem. Numbers of women who are not working also is very high. Bomme ba na le qualification ke di single parents ba tswere malapa mare bomme ha ba sebetse. So the people of Free State, Chair, Deputy Chairperson, ba kopa lefatshe bomme ba kgona ho sebeletsa. The people of Mpumalanga, bomme ba kopa lefatshe ba kgona ho sebeletsa. Aba omama ba se KZN enguthu bacela umhlaba bakazusebenzela. I can all the provinces in all the municipality omama bacela umhlaba bakazusebenzela bondla abantwana babo. They don't want grant. If singabanikeza umhlaba bakazisebenzela. Izibhedlela ezifana Manapo Hospital in Kwakwa. Last week, a patient died because the electricity cut off, the generator was not working. It's example of Manapo in Kwakwa, but it's an example that affects all of us in our hospitals. Omama bahlala ezitulweni islandari eFrera Hospital bayobeleka bade bebeleke behleli ku bench kodwa sine doctors ezivele eTuba ezihlele ekhaya ezingasebenzi. Why did the government took abantwana eTuba esikolweni babonzela qualification then they don't qualification the next day they don't replace them? So whatever, last day we also raised the issue of the bills of the backlog as the chair athethe ngazo. Bills, there's a lot of backlogs in this house because abantu abasebenzayo to the bills office in this parliament, there are only 4. So 4 people, they cannot cater all of us in 400 members of this parliament. I think also need to fill that vacancies, chairperson, so that at least umsebenzi ukwazi ukwenzeka because sinzele ukubeka imithetho not ukusupporta ibudget noba ibudget ayithethe ngeinterests zabantu bakuthi. The infrastructure is a problem in our municipality. Our municipality are dysfunctional and the issue ekhono Auditor General uthethile 73% of the municipality of Free State, they are dysfunctional. They don't submit financial statement. These are the issues that we must raise ngazo sithethe ngazo. So Parliament is failing also in its constitutional mandate to hold executive accountable. They are not our bosses, members of the executive. They must come to the committee, be empowered by us, because as we are representing our people, Masinga Brush, when we raise issues, we are not as reminding their responsibilities zabo as members of the executive. So they must be capacitated and be supported. I thought Western Cape is part of South Africa. I never thought Western Cape, government about because my party GNU. So Western Cape is part of the South Africa 9 provinces. So they cannot say that when we govern better. GNU is part of the ANC, including the DA in Western Cape, in Kayelisha. The legacy of this house is in Parliament. We still struggle to, after months of state of capture, is also to behold this executive accountable. Bonke abantu abavele ku state capture inhloko zabo mazigqitshwe bakwazi uvalelwa estrongweni. Everyone must be arrested. Kaloku report iphumile. But even if unomuntu we-BBS that you know, asinabantu abaku-PBS and EFF abasejele. Abantu be-ANC, including your deputy chairperson of Limpopo, is one of the person ebehamba khona. There is no one from the economic freedom fighters. If you have go to the nearest police station and report the matter, the criminal to the police. This parliament has over 30 years. They didn't offer nothing to the people of South Africa. It is our responsibility to make sure we capacitate this parliament and this 7 administration, capacitate SOEs, so that what is expected from all of them. We must also make sure we follow up on wrongdoing that are exposed by the Chapter 9 institution Auditor General. Wrongdoings in municipalities, mazilandelelwe, mabayeke umuntu athi ebe eEast London, ayekwenza CFO eMangaung, because niyamsusa kwipost, nimbalekisela to the next post, then we think we'll keep quiet. The people abenze izinto ezirongo, they must not be appointed. Lastly, Chairperson, we would also like to take this opportunity to encourage our structures as EFF to continue to work for the organization. And we invite them all to the 11th anniversary, where EFF will be celebrating 11th anniversary and Broker Struggle at Answer Ground in Kimberley on the 27th July, as the gallant movement of the economic emancipation will be turning 11 years. We are all invited. GNU, we are all invited. Izani nizobona ugovernment of future ukuba uphethe njani ukhulile umbutho wethu siyanithanda ambani nosebenza.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The next speaker to address the House will be the Honorable Farmer. Honorable Farmer, you have 5 minutes.
Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, good afternoon. When I was sworn in as a member to the NCOP on Saturday, 15 June 2024, I was a cancer patient. However, on the day after the President's inauguration, I had an appointment with my oncologist. On arrival at the office, she said that on the day I was diagnosed, 15 April 2023, my blood test has shown my PSA reading to be 9.6, which was very high and led to me being diagnosed with cancer of the prostate. However, the blood test that I've done that morning showed my PSA reading to be 0.03. Thus, the treatment that they prescribed and that I underwent worked, and therefore I am healed. They, however, want to monitor me every 3 months. To me, this was the hand of God manifesting in my life. I do not have any issue with honorable members and their different belief systems or names they might call their God. But my God is called the Great I Am. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, I am convinced that we were put here for a reason. I know for a fact that I am healed for a purpose, and therefore, the rest of my life I will be on borrowed time. I have not a shadow of a doubt that this 7th Parliament is directly intervened by God. To me, the fact that we now sit with a GNU is clear proof of this intervention. Who of us would ever have imagined a situation where the ANC and the DA govern together? Only a God can have such things worked out. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, clearly the 7th Parliament's term is a special one. It is for us to decide how we would make it work. It was once said that whether a government fail or not is determined by the way their vulnerable is treated. Please allow me 2 examples. One, Jocelyn Smith. A case where it is alleged that her mother sold her for an amount of money. This case is still before court, and hopefully we will hear the truth at some point. But our prayer remains that she will be found in good health. The term that comes up a lot in this instance is human trafficking. I, however, would call it human farming, where children are conceived to sell for a profit. Whatever the terminology, it remains an indictment on our previous parliaments and governments that allowed such evil to our children be happening in our country. For me, this should not be allowed to happen anymore going forward. Second sample, a couple of days ago, I saw a video on TikTok where a black young male is assaulting his grandmother. What angered me the most about this incident is the person taking the video is not intervening. How can it be possible for such an incident to take place in front of us and nothing is done? Even if one believes that that boy is arrested and brought before court, what is the worst that will happen to him? He will most probably get a fine for assault common. But if I was present and knocked some serious sense into him, I would have got a heavier punishment in court. Surely, for us that is calling ourselves honorable, in this 7th Parliament, this can never be business as usual. It should be us striving to change the plight of our people out there. Are we happy to live this lavish lifestyle of an honorable and continue the merry old way of the previous terms? Or are we the chosen ones to bring real change to the lives of our people? From the single mother having to leave her kids to go and work because she has no one else to rely upon, and hope to God her kids will be safe when she returns. Or the man, women, or kid that must sleep under a card box while the temperatures are at their lowest levels
Honorable
ever.
Farmer, your time has expired. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
The next speaker would be the Honorable Molokome. You have, honorable member, you have 15 minutes.
Ere ko leboge Deputy Chairperson, ke tšee sebaka se ke dumediše Chairperson of the NCOP, the Chief Whip of the Council, the Honorable House Chairpersons of committees, Honorable Permanent and Special Delegates of the NCOP, guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm standing here. I'm not the House Chairperson responsible for member support and international relations. I'm standing for him due to ill health. So I guess I'll represent him well. Honorable Chair, the important task of this Parliament is to continue with the powerful legacy that Tate Madiba and Mama Sisulu has entrusted us to creating a just and fair society for all. Our work as representatives of the people must reflect and stay true to Tata Madiba's legacy, including his unwavering commitment to progressive internationalism, justice, equality, and non-racial world. In 2002, Madiba made one of the most profound statements. I quote, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we had made to this life of others that will determine the significance of the life we had led." Close quote. It is in this spirit that Parliament's participation in international relations continue to consolidate and strengthen our vision of creating a better South Africa in a better Africa and just world. We will in this House agree that these leaders set the foundation for us to build a new society out of ashes of the past apartheid regime that was isolated by the world and declared a crime against humanity. As we just ushered this 7th Parliament, we need to build on this momentum and pursue efforts of previous parliaments of prioritizing our aspirations and values as enshrined in National Development Plan of 2020. In our efforts to deepen our participation in international relations, we are expected to be guided by the certain core objectives that reflects broad good practices in international affairs. These core objectives includes, but not limited to, the following. 1, prioritizing Africa, advancing multilateralism, establishing bilateral relationships for strategic reasons, ensuring follow-up at parliament to parliament level on the government's international involvement all engagement, particularly in Africa, promoting and protecting women's rights, reinforcing democratic values and ideals, advocating gender justice, and upholding international law and justice. Honorable Deputy Chairperson, I believe that these core objectives have informed Parliament's approach and programs in the area of international relations. As participants in the global arena, we should participate in different platforms that enable us the matters related to the well-being of the PAP constitute a strategic responsibility of this Parliament. We wish to congratulate the member of our Parliament who were recently elected in this House to represent our Parliament at a Pan-African Parliament. We are indeed happy that our parliamentary delegation is led by our own chairperson of the House, Honorable Mtsweni Tsipani. We wish you every of the best in your endeavor to deepen international engagement and participate in the PAP. On Commonwealth Chair, the Parliamentary Association, which is the CPA, our Parliament, together with the provincial legislatures, must continue to champion the cause to change the status quo, the status of the CAP from a charity organization to an international body that will meet its diplomatic responsibilities. Through the continuous participation of our Parliament in CPA, we will monitor and follow up the development of the transformation of the CPA pertaining to a change of its status. Honorable Deputy Chairperson, in international relationship, in international relations, we propose the following priorities. I'm laughing because I just said relationships. Yeah, this GNU chair, you know. We are proposing the following. One, finalization of the renaming of Parliamentary Group of International Relations, commonly known as PGIR. The Sixth Parliament took a decision to rename PGIR, citing the inappropriateness of the word group. For such an important entity in Parliament, the GIR is a multi-party strategic structure that is responsible for, amongst others, providing policy directions on IR matters, ensuring the implementation of Parliament's agreed international relations policies, and to advise the executive authority on international relations issues. The new name, which was being recommended subject to approval by the Joint Rules Committee of Parliament, is International Relations Advocacy Committee, from the one that is named Parliamentary Group on International Relations. So this one, Chair, is the one that is proposed. This process is ongoing and should be considered and finalized as soon by the Joint Rules Committee. We will advocate for Parliament participation in international fora to find expression in the policy, priorities, and strategic plan of the 7th Parliament. We will establish the focus group on PGIR. The main purpose of the focus group is to ensure action is taken to implement the recommendations and resolutions of all the multilateral bodies Parliament is affiliated to. Each focus group will have a convener. Composition of the parliamentary delegation. We plan to finalize this process after consulting with the Chief Whip. On establishment of friendship groups, the Freedom Charter states there shall be peace and freedom. Honorable members, when we establish friendship groups, we will be prioritizing the countries that stood in solidarity with us in our struggle for freedom from our colonizers who promoted oppression systems in our African countries, using plenaries to debate decisions and recommendations emanating from our international engagements. This is in line with the African National Congress resolution calling for all elected representatives to communicate international engagements with the public. This is also confirmed by the Joint Rule 132, Sub-Rule 3 of the Joint Rule of Parliament, which enjoins Parliament through PGIR to receive report from Parliament delegations and schedule a debate of reports in the House. Under protocol and diplomacy training, through our international relations and protocol divisions, we will organize a training to empower members on parliamentary diplomacy. This will assist the members to be well prepared as they engage and connect with the global community through sharing their experiences and to learn from others. Under member support, Honorable Deputy Chair, most of the issues of member support are addressed through a forum called Member Support Forum, which is commonly known as MSF. The core function of the MSF is to serve as an advisory body to executive authority of Parliament on matters related to members' facilities. It is through MSF that many of the issues of member support shall be discussed, debated, and resolved by making recommendations to consideration by the executive committees for decision making. The MSF is co-chaired by both House chairpersons from NA and NCOP responsible for member support. The forum is yet to be established. However, processes to establish it have already started. Honorable Chair, in intensifying the membership support, we undertake to continue with the work started by the 6th Parliament, which is now its legacy work. This work includes, amongst others, the following. 1, continuous provision of members' training and capacity building. After the establishment of the MSF, which is anticipated to be concluded in the next quarter, Members will be represented with various type of programs offered by the Parliament and process to follow. This program will include, amongst others, the following: formal academic programs, bursary schemes, and members, bursary scheme for members of Parliament, legislative sectors, facilitated programs, and others. There are various activities that will also be included, chairperson, on this scheme, which is the tools of trade, and then the wellness program of members of Parliament will also be included on the program, chairperson. And as the ANC, we support this budget votes. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable colleagues, before we go on to the next speaker, I would like to welcome to the National Council of Provinces, the delegation from Angola, who is led by His Excellency, Honorable Felino Job. Your Excellency. Your Excellency, we welcome you and your delegation. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. Thank you very much. The next speaker on the podium will be the Honorable Breed.
Chair.
Honorable Member, you have 5 minutes.
Chairperson. Chair, can you, before the member takes to the podium, can you ask the staff to switch off the aircon, please? They have been deliberate. I don't know what I've done to them, but this aircon is summarizing me seriously.
No, thank you, Honorable Member. I think the staff has heard you. Please. Thank you.
Chairperson, just check my time. It's 5 minutes, not 7. Okay. Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Preparing for this debate, I found myself at a bit of a loss of words, because what do I say that we do not already know or are supposed to know? And I turned to my trusty friend Google to give me some inspiration, and I found a quote that I think we need to heed. It says, "Parliament is more than procedure. It is the custodian of the nation's freedom." And I quite like that. In 'n politieke bestel soos die van Suid-Afrika speel die parlement 'n instrumentele rol om nie net die wette te skep nie, maar om die belange van elke Suid-Afrikaner te verteenwoordig, om te verseker dat ons 'n ware demokrasie het. Om toe te sien dat hierdie gebeure, dat ons 'n oorsig moet speel en hoe belangrik dit is in Suid-Afrika. Honorable Chairperson, I'm glad that you mentioned that we need to strengthen accountability of the executive and to strengthen oversight of our work. I think that is what we are going to have to do. In die 5de en 6de parlemente het ek persoonlik ervaar dat in die wetgewer en in die parlement in die ander huis sekere komitees nie toegelaat is om ordentlike oorsig te doen nie en dat sekere LER'e en ministers beskerm is. Dit gaan in hierdie 7de administrasie veral in ag genome die regering van nasionale eenheid wat beloof het om meer deursigtig te wees, belangrik wees om 'n parlement te wees wat die uitvoerende gesag verantwoordbaar hou teenoor die mense van Suid-Afrika. Ons gaan nie kan wegskram van oorsig nie. Dit gaan ook nodig wees om te verseker dat openbare fondse verantwoordelik bestee word. Martin Schulz said of this, "I am a man of parliament, a man of the people. I am not a representative of the executive, and I think that each one of us here should remember that." In die verlede, soos ons gesien het aan die begin van die jaar, was hierdie parlement behoorlik met marathon sessies 'n worsmasjien gewees, waar ons wette goedgekeur het for the sake of. Ons was slegs 'n rubberstempel vir prosesse en kan ons nie toelaat dat hierdie weer gebeur nie. My function in life is not to be a politician in parliament. It is to get something done. And I think here I can agree with the Honourable Ryder and the Honourable Makasini, who said that we need to take away virtual sittings and be more in the House and more present and more engaging. And this is what we need to do. Wat ook nodig gaan wees, is om toe te sien dat ons orde en dissipline in hierdie huis handhaaf. Ons gaan nie kan toelaat dat die parlement 'n onbeheerde sirkus is, soos wat ons in die verlede gesien het nie, want ons is reeds vir die internasionale gemeenskap 'n laughingstock en ek skaam my dood. It is important that the decorum and dignity of the House is upheld and at all times. The image of Parliament in the public mind should be one where proceedings, debates and discussions take place with a view to restore issues through a constructive and cooperative approach. En laat my toe om net daar te sê, ons kleredrag moet ook daarvan spreek. Sweetpakke, dink ek nie, val heeltemal in die decorum van hierdie huis nie. Verder gaan dit in besonder vir hierdie huis belangrik wees om vir ons provinsies en ons munisipaliteite aanspreeklik te hou. Dit gaan belangrik wees dat ons die regte vrae vra, die nodige oorsig doen en verseker dat hulle funksioneer en hul mense dien. Daar waar munisipaliteite onder administrasie is, gaan ons moet seker maak die situasie verbeter en dat die status quo nie gehandhaaf word nie. In die Vrystaat is daar enkele munisipaliteite wat beter af is onder administrasie, maar die meerderheid van hulle is nie. Ons gaan ook moet seker maak dat die departemente nie so in silo's werk nie en dat hulle werklik waar 'n kollektiewe benadering tot dienslewering volg. Ons taak is groot, maar as ek so deur hierdie vertrek kyk na elkeen van u, dan sien ek mense wat gereed is vir die stryd en mense wat gereed is om hierdie 7de parlement aan te pak. Ek dank u.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. The next member to speak for 7 minutes is the Honourable Arendse. Adrianse? Sorry. Honourable Member, you have 7 minutes.
Deputy Chairperson, Madam Chairperson, delegates from Angola, honourable members and fellow South Africans, good day. We stand at a pivotal juncture in our nation's history. The allocation of our budget, which indicate our priorities, and their judicious distribution hold profound significance for our future, shaping the enduring legacy we leave to our future generations. The issue at hand is that the budget proposes drastic budget cuts, which will have a profound impact, particularly affecting the administrative work of our Parliament. Though, interestingly, staff costs remain the same. This is not merely a matter of fiscal adjustment, but a poignant challenge that strikes at the very essence of this parliamentary institution. The recent decision to curtail the budget allocated to the administration of Parliament resonates not as a mere financial measure, but as a direct assault on the bedrock of our operational framework and a contravention of the fundamental tenets of democracy and good governance. Our oversight capability is being diluted when it is needed most. The proposed budget cuts threaten to undermine the effectiveness and efficiency of our parliamentary structure. Without a sufficiently staffed and supported workforce, we risk creating bottlenecks and in our operations, hindering the legislative process and eroding public trust in our government capabilities. Parliament was shut down over the COVID-19 pandemic, and the subsequent fire to the National Assembly has meant a much lower presence on the precinct and therefore less reliance on the administration. As we return to a semblance of normality, it is therefore counterintuitive that the budget should now be reduced. Consider the restoration of Parliament following the devastation of 2 years ago. A project initially estimated at just over 2 million, now ballooning to 3 billion rand. With improved project management, rigorous oversight, and diligent scrutiny of progress and expenditure, substantial savings can surely be realized. These savings could then be directed towards preserving our administrative staff, the backbone of our democracy. Deputy Chairperson, I ask members to look to the gallery up on the left. The crumbling ceiling that has resulted in a section of the gallery up there being cordoned off first fell off over 18 months ago. The fallen fragments remain where they fell, and as you can see, there's a red strand of chevron tape put in place every so often. We are the people's government. Yet, the space allocated for our people remains neglected. What better use could there be for our budget? I implore my fellow members of Parliament to grasp the gravity of this situation and unite in steadfast support of our staff. We must prioritize their well-being, safeguard the integrity of our parliamentary processes, and reaffirm our commitment to democracy and accountability. Together, let us confront these challenges with unity and determination, rebuilding our parliamentary structure stronger and more resilient than ever. As we enter a new phase in our democracy, where a government of national unity is set to take South Africa forward, the oversight role of Parliament has become so much more relevant. This must be encouraged and nurtured, and therefore appropriately funded. In conclusion, let us fulfill our duty to safeguard and nurture the pillars of our democracy. The time for action is now, and the future of our parliamentary institution and the livelihoods of our staff depend on the decisions we make today. Thank you. Kia leboha.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next member to speak will be the Honourable Majola. Honourable Majola, you have 9 minutes.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Deputy Chair, Ministers present, Deputy Ministers, Chief Whip, MEC, deputy MECs present, traditional leaders and religious groups present here, and members of the NCOP who are present physically, and those who are on the hybrid platform due to the various unforeseen circumstances. Chairperson, I'm here to represent Mkhonto Wesizwe, who is led by the Honorable Dr. Hlophe. Chairperson, I have had an opportunity before I participate on this debate, listened to a number of votes debate for the various departments. Chairperson, there is one common factor from what I've gathered from those debates, amongst others, was an outcry in terms of the increase in terms of the allocations. Chairperson, against that outcry, I'm looking at the mirror. The mirror, Chairperson, is a contribution from the parliament organs like the FFC, where they indicated as to what is our status in terms of our finances. Chairperson, looking at the mirror which does not lie, it indicates that our GDP growth is significantly below the NDP target of 5.4%. Well, Chairperson, reading from this statement, it indicates that it forfeits the outcry from the departments to increase their allocation, because, as it has been said by previous speakers, that our economy is struggling. When it comes to a budgeting processes, Chairperson, that is the main principle one needs to consider. We have to collect in order to increase the location in terms of expenditure. Well, reading from this situation, Chairperson, it is clear that at this 7th Democratic Parliament, Chairperson, things will be the same. Chairperson, we will still have challenges with regards to the funding of some of our critical projects. Just to name a few, well, the issue of the SRG grant, due to the demand, has been increased from 6.5 million to 7.8 million. So we need more funds in terms of funding the SR grant. Well, in the situation we are currently in, we will be unable to fulfill that mandate. Chairperson, it teaches a lesson that speaking outside the GNU government, well, that lesson is we cannot do the same thing and then we expect the different outcomes. I wanted to agree, Chairperson, with some of the previous speakers when they say we need to relook at our policies and legislation that govern the both parliaments. Chairperson, we need to look at our mineral resources management, whether does it speak to the struggling economic growth. Chairperson, we need to revisit the issue of land management and redistribution in order for us to be in a position to respond to the demands that has been echoed in various vote debates. Chairperson, there are serious situations that South Africa is facing at the moment. Chairperson, if we don't invest on our youth, therefore the future of this country, it's dead. Where is our youth today? Our youth today is on the street. Our youth today, they are not actively. They are on the street collecting the used tins for whether cold drink or whatever to make it sure that when the sun sets, they have got something that they will entertain under the circumstances of this current weather. Chairperson, the issue of crime arising from the drugs. Well, there is a murder every day which has reached the alarming stage now, because in terms of this uncontrolled drugs in South Africa, well, it contributes to the high level of crime. Chairperson, as I'm standing here as a member of Mkondo Wesizwe, we've got a position with regards to this budget. Chairperson, we need to take not a romantic approach in terms of facing the situation that it's impacting on our economic growth. Chairperson, we need a radical change. We need a radical approach in terms of reviewing our legislation and pieces of legislation that is governing this country. That is our position, Chairperson, and we do not support the proposed and the tabled budget today. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. The next member to debate is the Honourable Brits. Honourable Member, you have 6 minutes.
Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Deputy Chairperson, the MEC, our esteemed visitors, fellow South Africans. In sy gedig voor 'n onbekende môre skryf die bekende Dr. Matthew Sposa na afloop van die 1994 verkiesing, en ek haal aan: Boys and girls are back. Wees beskeie in julle oorwinning. Dit is julle kans om te maak of te breek. Kies julle kant. Jy kan nie alles wees vir vis of vark. Groei saam in die gees, help drome visie. Swoeg is die toekomssaad. En julle wat julself leiers noem, maak toe julle monde en maak oop julle oë en ore. Voorwaarts, sonder vrees of valsheid. In hierdie woorde, geskryf deur 'n lid van die eerste regering van nasionale eenheid, vervat gepas die situasie waarin ons, nie net as 7de parlement nie, maar ook as Suid-Afrikaners onsself weer bevind in die huidige regering van nasionale eenheid. Die RNE is nie gebore uit goedheid of guns van die ANC nie, maar as gevolg van die wil van Suid-Afrika se mense. Ons wat onsself leiers noem, moet ons oë en ore oopmaak en luister na daardie wil. En daardie wil is duidelik, dat ons sal saamwerk tot die beste voordeel van ons land en al haar inwoners. Latin maxim says, quod homines tot sententiae, and that means so many people, so many opinions. Over the past weeks, we listened to many political speeches and political populist rhetoric. Political grandstanding is not enough of a contribution to advance the new path of constructive national dialogue and shared government. I've listened to the Honourable Makesini from the EFF. I've listened to many inspiring and perfectly wonderful speeches in my life, but today that was not it. You, however, succeeded in pointing out shortcomings, failures, and wrongdoings of the past 3 years. Again, anyone can point finger and anyone can complain. But apparently we should not hold our breath for you to come to the table with workable and conducive solutions. In this 7th Parliament, it can't be business as usual. And there I agree with the Honourable Farmer. But as pointed out by the Judge Zondo, state capture and looting of public funds were made possible by the fact that Parliament failed in its oversight role over the executive. This situation clearly needs to be addressed in this new term of Parliament. Again, the NCOP as upper house of Parliament is called upon to return to our defined constitutional duties and not to act as a mere rubber stamp. Honourable Moyemang, we are not called upon to rethink this house function. We are called upon to fulfill our constitutional responsibilities. And I trust you listened to what the Honourable Ryder had to say in this regard. We saw a lot of pomp and ceremony over the past few weeks. Military parades, blue light motorcades, glamorous red carpet events. And those were held against the backdrop of millions of starving, poor, unemployed citizens. Parliament indeed needs to radically revisit this kind of unnecessary spending of public money, which holds no real value for our citizens. This does not aid building. We need to acknowledge the impact the fire has had on the operations of Parliament. The resultant inconvenience to the NCOP in that we are forced to meet on Zoom platforms because of a shortage of committee rooms. This, of course, brings unnecessary increased expenses to this institution's daily administration. The DA will hold a very close eye on this evolving project, that it does not become a money-ciphering pit like the Sarah Bartman Centre of Remembrance in Hankey in the Eastern Cape. Project that started in 2014, costed 260 million rands, is not finished, and it is much to the anger and disappointment of local residents. Honourable Ntsweni Tsipane, your call for a radical shift to South African economic development is a breath of fresh air. Only an honest approach to acknowledge our economic situation will contribute to rebuilding the ailing economy. Honourable Moyemang, I can't resist, and with all due respect, you compressed the most words in the smallest contribution to vote 2 that I've listened to today. But we've also listened to a very informative speech by the Honourable Molokome. That was really, really informative, but not really relevant to vote 2 in Parliament. Honourable Deputy Chair, I want, in conclusion, to say the following. The question posed by the DA remains, do you want to build or do you want to break? We are on a mission, and that mission remains to rescue South Africa by positive contributions within the government of national unity. I thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker to address the House is the Honourable Mananiso. Honourable Member, you have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Let me stand on all protocols that were observed before. And before I start with my speech, one would want to commit that this is a budget for the Parliament that wants to work for the people. And I'll be supporting it on those bases. But honourable members, fellow South Africans, our visitors, our guests, I want you to note that there's some mist that one would want to clear with regards to today's budget. One, Honourable Ryder I want to assure you that this parliament is going to be responsive, and for it to be responsive, we will need active citizenry. We cannot do it alone. So be assured that whatever that has been done the past in the 6th Parliament won't repeat itself. Honorable Chief Whip, on your statement, you are very clear that non-accessibility is unacceptable. And one would want to agree, as adopting this budget, that indeed will ensure that there's accessibility in all the services that are provided by this government across the provinces. Honorable Salt, I want to assure you as well that additional or expanded ministries, it was not just for compliance, but to actually respond to issues that South Africans have said that we need to address them swiftly. So just note that this expansion of ministries is a new thing. It's not, it has never been done before. So be assured that as this government of GNU, we are ready, we are capable, and we will address the inequalities of Western Cape. We are passing this budget, noting that there are serious issues here in Western Cape, while most of you would like to paint a good picture about the Western Cape, but we want to say inequalities need to be addressed. Honorable members, Honorable Maskeni, I just want to say to you, indeed, some of your part of the speech, you must actually beat the author, because it was so irrelevant that it didn't speak to the budget vote through. On the issue of visual meetings, honorable members, I think as this House, we would need to look on that issue, because it's been emphasized and deliberated that it is not for compliance or other issues that are underlying, but it is the fact that there's a challenge in terms of venues. However, we would want to employ two chairpersons that when they deal with their issues, they need to put this issue of visual meetings or physical meeting at the forefront of their discussions. Honorable members, what is critical about today's budget is that we will indeed execute our constitutional obligations in terms of consultations, cooperations, and collaborations with all stakeholders, meaning that we won't leave Abafundisi behind, honorable member of the EFF. We won't leave those who are honoring the stockfiles. We won't leave all sectors, your youth, men, women, persons with disabilities, persons with albinism, LGBTQIA plus society, and those that have previously owned some taverns, Baba Peter. You must tell them at Eastern Cape, would include them as we do our groundwork as these members of parliament. And I want to say as well to the EFF, be honest to yourself, tell no lies and claim no easy victory. This GNU is just 30 days, 30 days. And how you spoke as if it's been there. So I just want to remind you, we are just 30 days, and just go through the statement of intent in terms of what is it that we have actually contracted ourselves in, so that you are very clear in terms of what you want to say. Honorable Farmer, I want to wish you well on your journey in beating cancer, because I know that if you actually comply and do what it been prescribed to you, you would really be a survivor, not a victim. So I want to wish you well as you'll be actually dealing with that illness. But again, I want to assure you as well and affirm that GNU, it is an intervention. Indeed, our people have called for this GNU to say that they need all of us to work. I see Honorable Nzimbande wants to be disruptive, but the GNU, it's for our people, by the people, because of they are the ones who actually made us to be where we are through their acts. So your issues will be addressed. You are addressed that you bought a wrong ticket. And I want to say in this House, you did buy a wrong ticket. Honorable Britt, your moving speech indeed, in some elements, have actually emphasized on my speech in terms of accountability, that the NCOP, if we need to professionalize accountability, we are at the right space to ensure that we just do the just. in terms of our oversight and as well our visit and our study guide. Because I heard that some of the members are suggesting that these study tours are just for luxury, but one would want to say that South Africa is not an island. We need to go and learn and exchange and come back and do benchmarking so that we are able to be the best that we want to be. So we would want to advocate that there should be increase in terms of this study guide, study tour, and there should be more members who are taken abroad to learn in terms of best models that other countries have. Honorable Andrianse, I want to tell you that these drastic cuts, we have actually committed ourselves to do more with less. So I saw you pointed there's this and that. I hope those who are in charge of maintenance, they would address that issue so that next time when we come here, it's not part and parcel of the debate of vote 2. However, be part of public works and other departments. I want to say to you, honorable members, more especially Honorable Majola, I hope you have noted how things have changed in this 7th Parliament. I know you were not there before in the 6th Parliament. You are a new baby, but you would learn in terms of how we do things in this house. But I want to agree with your sentiments to say that we need to be a robust Parliament. Indeed, we need to be a robust Parliament. However, we must not confuse populism, anarchy to being robust. We need to maintain the decorum of the House. House Chairperson, I want to say to Honorable Brits, working together, we can dearly do more. And indeed, we can advance and enhance public participation of our communities and leaving no one behind. So we are on course as this GNU ANC-led Parliament. Honorable members, I want to go to my speech with the time that it's left. Now it's 6:58, and one would just do swiftly. As I said, honorable members, we are adopting this budget, hoping that our people will have job opportunities. And we want to request that when these opportunities are called out, please, let's ensure that there's minimum requirements so that we actually make sure that we include our young people who just graduated as interpreters or as people who can offer services to our people. The people shall govern is one of the fundamental causes for the formation of the ANC. It is for these reasons that those elected to be honorable members service their constituency and their socio-economic interest. During our canvassing campaigns, we lobbied our people to vote for us. We made commitments to conduct our business better. Indeed, as this NCOP will make sure that we conduct our business better. The people are the source of power, and the authority and the power we exercise belongs to them. For Parliament to be a true tribune of the people, the work of Parliament should be organized in a manner that enables public representative and committees to do more in our communities within the parameters of Parliament. Without adequate contact with the people and different sectors, we run a risk of being alienated from the challenges and impacting of our constituencies. The ANC has always called for an activist parliament due to its appreciation of the importance of having continuous engagement with the people to ensure that Parliament works with the people to resolve challenges. Now, this 7th Parliament, we are called to be activist and be responsive, and we would be responsive. We call for strengthening of parliamentary constituency work through increased resources and support for offices by Parliament. Those who are new, there's a sector that we call parliamentary constituency offices, actually are offices, where our constituencies as members of Parliament must get our services. That has to do with national, provincial, and as well local issues. As members of Parliament, when we are at those offices, we need to ensure that we don't interfere, but we intervene at the best interest of our people. In the 7th Parliament, we expect to improve the support We must take civic education activities to our communities, and we must leverage digital technologies to create more channels to the public to participate. We must also have mechanisms to enable people in rural areas to be able to raise various matters that require the attention of Parliament. In the 6th Parliament, we have had different experiences in the public participation processes when processing various bills. Some of you, you've been part of this engagement because of you've been leading in other levels of structures. Previously, we had poor coordination of those meetings where even relevant people didn't participate. But this time around, we are passing this budget to ensure that everybody is well catered and participate. The issue of multilingualism will be promoted, Honorable Matapelo, in this 7th Parliament to ensure that we don't leave anyone behind. We have seen previously there's some jokes that are happening around people who cannot speak well English, and we forget that English is not our mother tongue. We hope that in this NCOP, we're going to be teaching people that we all belong and we are at liberty to speak our languages without any apologies. Honorable Peter, we acknowledge that every time when you speak with your mother tongue, and as this Parliament will promote that. Honorable members, we expect Parliament to ensure adequate support is provided for those who are deaf as well. As you would know that last Parliament has passed sign language as the 12th language. It shows that we are moving swiftly in terms of addressing those who are marginalized. Issue of being excluded will be the issue of the past if we work together and ensure that we bring everyone before our businesses. Honorable members, one of the rights we should support to enable all honorable members to fully participate in the work of Parliament effectively, in ensuring that Parliament has the required capacity to provide translation services and resources to meet the language needs of members. It is unfortunate that members of Parliament can be humiliated due to the lack of translation capacity and at a speech writing level in proceedings. Honorable members, we are saying to those who have been victims of those who think that they can speak English better, that issue is the issue of the past. As this NCOP, we are coming to their rescue in terms of liberating them to use their official languages. Honorable members, we want to ensure that in this budget, the district development model will fast track with specific timeframes and realistic plans. We want to say we can't forever plan in terms of what is this DDM. Where we are, we want to see execution. We want to see all the services cutting across from national, provincial to regional. We want to say to our public representative, those who've been in holiday, they must know that it is through this NCOP that we're going to make sure that there is robust oversight and accountability, and we make sure that they work for our people as being members of this Parliament. As I conclude, I want to say to you, Deputy Chair, we wish you well and keep on steering this ship when you are assigned to do so. And I want to say to our chairperson, the future is female. You must hold we are here to work together to ensure that we better the lives of our people and we just do the just as human rights calls for that in Bill of Rights. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mananiso, for your debate and your kind words of support. It now gives me pleasure to call upon the chairperson of the NCOP, Honorable Nsweni Tsipane, to close this debate. Honorable Chairperson, you have 5 minutes.
Honorable members, I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank you all for participating in this budget vote today. I want to assure you all, honorable members, that I have taken note of all the issues that you have tabled in this House, which will indeed assist us as the NCOP to begin to crystallize our priorities for the 7th dispensation. Today's deliberations are clearly illustrating that there are a wide variety of policy areas, which are all important to the constituencies we serve. There is indeed no shortage of ideas and proposals. However, the strategies for implementation, particularly insofar as how we give expression to the constitutional mandate of the NCOP, must be arrived at through consensus amongst ourselves. The National Council of Provinces stands as a beacon of transparency, collaboration, and inclusivity. It is through the active participation and engagement of all permanent delegates that we can work together, achieving our shared goals and objectives. In the 7th Parliament, we'll have to strengthen our role in oversight, tracking, monitoring, and impact assessment. The people of South Africa have spoken, and their message is very loud and clear. Through their votes, they are very clear that they want us as various political formations to set aside our political differences for a common goal of our nation. On international relations, honorable members, we must also ensure that we prioritize the establishment of Parliamentary Group on International Relations, commonly known as the PGIR. This will enable us to ensure that we process all international fora reports whilst remaining aligned to the national interests. Through this budget, we must ensure that we identify gaps and areas that need strengthening in the capacitation of members. This will ensure that we address the issues relating to the training and capacitation of members of the NCOP. Thank you for your dedication, commitment, and unwavering support as we navigate the complexities of governance and the policy making together. Together, we can achieve great things for the benefit of our people. Rest assured, honorable members, each suggestion has been duly noted and will be carefully considered as we work towards crafting comprehensive outreach programs for this esteemed House. As we navigate the complexities of government, let us remain steadfast in our commitment to serve the interests of our people with integrity and diligence. Together, we have an opportunity to effect positive change and build a legacy that reflects the values we hold so dear. We must also acknowledge that Parliament's budget is not nearly enough to enable us to function more effectively as the arm of state. We must therefore ensure that consistently engage the minister, including the treasurer, to ensure that Parliament's budget is equivalent to the broad and overarching mandate we are expected to implement. Given the reach and impact of the sector Parliament's program, it is therefore imperative that we put mechanisms in place to effectively segment the unique contribution made to the work of Parliament through this program. We must ensure that this program is properly funded and effectively resourced. As I conclude, honorable members, I want to state that your tools of trades are ready for collection every day, including weekends at V8. Members are encouraged, therefore, to make appointments so that they control they can go and collect their tools of trade. Once again, honorable delegates, I wish to thank all the delegates who participated in the budget vote debate, and we look forward to a productive and impactful 7th Parliament. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable delegates, that concludes the debate and the business of the day. I would like to thank all permanent delegates, special delegates, as well as MECs and members of the executive who are on the virtual platform for availing themselves for the sitting today. This House is now adjourned. Thank you.
Recording stopped.